Hello everybody, welcome and welcome back. My name is Jennifer Irene. We have a full moon in the sign of Sagittarius on June 11th, and I'm trying to figure out where to start because it feels like everything is just too crazy at the moment. So maybe you've been feeling it as well. Probably that's why you're here. And yeah, I'll try to guide us through some of the aspects and let's have a little look at what these energies are showing us. Yeah, of course, with the full moon, we're always reaching a moment of peak illumination, but it's always in opposition between the moon and the sun. So it's already a moment of tension, yeah. Not tension that is necessarily bad, yeah. Tension is also always acting as a force of movement, essentially. And when tension is released, there's this energy that is being released that we can use to grow, to move, to accelerate. With Sagittarius right now, the moon is very occupied with understanding bigger connections, bigger pictures, looking beyond the horizon. And also perhaps looking at things that are happening outside of the boundaries of your personal life. Yeah. Gemini is very focused on details. That's where the sun is. So maybe we're understanding more about the details of things that are happening also abroad. And maybe we're interested in learning more about details, about more bigger abstract concepts. Yeah, for me, for example, this showed up as a sudden interest in understanding dimensions from a mathematical approach and topology and manifolds and all of these weird abstract theories that felt very nourishing. Yeah, so looking into those directions can feel very nourishing right now. Of course, a lot of the things happening in the world, when we start looking beyond the horizons, those things are not nourishing. So we look at those things, we're trying to find the details, we're trying to understand the things, but it's a highly overwhelming time right now. And yeah, we have a really, really, really important aspect happening right now at the same time, which is Jupiter just entered into Cancer. So this is already a change of energy from the last year. Yeah, where Jupiter was in Gemini, it was very mental, very active, we had a lot of ideas, we had a lot of back and forth. We felt very indecisive, but we still felt this general excitement that came from a very mental ability to think about solutions and feel inspired also by ideas. Now with the transition into Cancer, we're really being pulled into the heart. So this is an opening of the heart, this is an expansion of the heart. But because the heart is a place where we are also vulnerable, it is also sometimes an expansion of trying to protect the heart and safeguard the heart. So it can also be a feeling of wanting to put up more armor and wanting to isolate and wanting to be at home and never leave because we don't feel safe anywhere. So all of these things are really heart related. With Mercury in Cancer right now as well, we have an added element of communicating also what is on our heart, how the heart feels. Maybe we're better able to understand and process that we do have feelings and what those feelings are actually telling us. And yeah, the Jupiter in Cancer is in square to Neptune and Saturn, which are both in the beginning degrees of Aries, 1 degree and 2 degrees. So this is a square that is a very large tension point. There's 2 squares happening basically at the same time that usually happen at different points of the year. Jupiter Neptune and Jupiter Saturn. And this square between Jupiter and Saturn is of course also the opening moment of the first real crisis, the first real tension from the cycle that they began in 2020 when they conjuncted in Gemini and began 20 years of conjunctions in air signs. We moved from earth to air in 2020 with those 2 elements. And these are generational aspects, yeah? These are bigger, multiple year kind of aspects. So this is a tension point that resembles feelings that we may have had also in 2020. Yeah, this is like a continuation. This is like the next the first quarter of the phase of the whole cycle. So it brings up a lot of memories from that time, yeah, of how did we feel. We may felt oppressed, we may have felt scared, we may have felt fear. There's a really strong push-pull between expanding and contracting, yeah, feeling a desire to move forwards, but feeling a huge limitation. And with Neptune there as well, this is really also bringing us the energy of possibility, of dreaming, and at the same time the energy of possibility of dreaming of everything that can go wrong, and fears and anxieties and illusions and delusions, and also disillusionment. It's really, yeah, it's kind of difficult to say all of these things in a very short and compact way, because there's literally books books written just about these changes and these transits, and because it's so much energy, it's kind of hard to grasp. But one of the things that I feel like we're all noticing in the world, perhaps, is with this Saturn in Aries together with Neptune. Aries is the very first spark of energy, the beginning of the journey. This is kind of like the fool that just jumped into the world and is not really so wise yet, it's full of power, full of dedication, full of will, but really hasn't integrated all of the lessons that are yet to come through the journey of the elements of the zodiac. So for me, this feels like this Saturnian force, yeah, the part of us that is authoritarian, that has a sense of power, and politically and in the world, what we're seeing also, people in power, yeah, people who have authority. I feel like they're behaving from a very, very foolish, ungrounded, childish way. Yeah, this is like the energy that the father figures, the authoritarian figures, the restrictions that we're experiencing are coming from a place of complete immaturity. And with Neptune, from a place of grand delusions, of making things huge and making the meanings of them huge and being very ego-driven and ego-centered. This is Mars energy coming from Aries. Yeah, this is the ego that has not really developed yet a sense of everything that is outside of itself. With the square to Jupiter, that is a huge clash, because Jupiter is really opening the heart. So it feels like a very intense moment, a very reactive moment, also because Uranus is entering soon into the 29th degree of Taurus, the last degree where everything kind of comes together about the material realm and the earthly realm, and we may feel a sense of sudden urgency, or like this really strong force that wants to shake things up another time before it leaves the sign. And I do feel that it's a time of action. It's a time of action. We have Mars in Leo, and Mars is actually in a grand trine with the moon, Mars, moon, and then Chiron. So they're all in like 26 to 20 degrees in the fire signs. So this is really a moment where people are starting to be more daring, be more bold. And we can see that when we maybe look at the news. People are standing up more and more, not that they haven't already, but the anger is just rising so much that people are feeling a new wave. Yeah, we're feeling a new wave of wanting to act, wanting to defend, wanting to protect. Yeah, the Leo energy, this intense, bold, courageous, brave, willing to go into the cave to fight the lion kind of energy. With the moon, this energy is really connected also to understanding bigger pictures. And with Chiron in Aries, this is because our personal wound has been triggered. This is because we understand that the fear is spreading to a personal level. And where the fear is personal, the willingness and the ability to suddenly act and defend is like heightened, super heightened. Yeah, and with Venus in Taurus also, we're having a new desire for material change, for really harmonizing the material realm that we're in. It's in sextile with Mercury, and yeah, I think this strengthens also our ability to communicate right now. What do we need? What do we desire? What does my body need? What does my body desire? Yeah, this can also, of course, it's not just political, it's not just huge, it's not just global events, it's also very, very personal, yeah? It's also all of the details of your personal life, yeah? Maybe you've been feeling like actually you want to be massaged by someone once in a while. Maybe you're able to speak that out for the first time. Maybe you realize that you want more contact with people and you want it to be more regular, or you want it to have more stability, and maybe you're feeling this Saturn force also as like being able to demand things that you feel that you need right now. But let's be careful and let's remember that that Neptunian force, when it is activated from a place of unconditional love, it can really support our vision. But when it is activated from a place of delusion and illusion, then it can support our willingness to be very strict in a way that clashes actually with what our heart is feeling. And so this is the tricky balance right now. Is your heart also feeling it? And yeah, I've been receiving this this sentence of let's be clever, yeah. Let's not overanalyze things, but let's be mindful. Let's use our mind, be mindful without overanalyzing, but let's also have the mind there. And let's not be scared. Let's test the waters, but let's not overcommit. Yeah? Let's not overcommit. You don't need to commit to everything right now, but maybe it's time to test the waters and to tune into the heart space and understand, is this something that I want to commit to more? Yes, no. The degree in which this full moon is happening right now, the Sabian symbol, that are these channeled visionary symbols, is a child and a dog wearing borrowed eyeglasses. So this is a symbol representing two figures that are using eyeglasses that are borrowed, that are not their own, but they're using it to see. So this can be interpreted as imitating features. This is kind of how the book interprets it, is imitating features that are not yet your own, but by using them, by imitating them, we accelerate the growth in that direction. But I also feel it is an interpretation as using someone else's eyeglasses to see, so that you can see things that they are seeing that you usually don't see, so that you can actually expand your heart for more compassion, and that you can understand why someone else may have experienced, or someone is experiencing, limitations, that you may understand better why someone else is acting in a way that is strict or harsh, or why someone is able to have visions that are beautiful and someone else is only able to have visions that are really negative. And just by understanding how to look through that perspective, we're able to change the way we feel. And when we change how we feel, it's the beginning point of changing how we act. Yeah. So I feel with this moon, it's been so much already. We feel so much. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of fear and anxiety. there's a lot of like a sense of being everything feeling a bit too much right now, and of a sense of like almost a depressive, lethargic energy that comes and wants to wrap itself around us, making us feel perhaps a little bit numb or even a little bit cozy and comfortable. Yeah, sometimes we can be so comfortable in that lethargy of not doing anything, of just not responding, not reacting, and it feels like it becomes a safe zone. It feels like the shell of the crab of the Cancer. But that's also the challenge of Cancer, is also to move out of that, and to be soft and be vulnerable. But at this point in time, with Saturn there and the square, it's not only about being soft and vulnerable. It's not only about speaking out what has been the reasons for your issues and what has been the causes of this, and what has been, you know, the bigger story of why you're feeling the way that you're feeling and what you cannot do and where your limitations are, and understanding how to work with your limitations. It may also be a time to understand, how can I become actually stronger? How can I actually be able to carry the things that I'm carrying, not as limitations anymore? How am I actually able to move into that place where I feel resilient? Even though they're still the same circumstances, I feel more resilient. I have more energy. I am more capable. I have trained more, learned more, grown more. Because I choose. I make a commitment, and I choose to see that. I feel that this particular moon really wants to be felt, So I'm gonna stop explaining from the intellectual level, and we're gonna go more into the feeling level, into the intuition level. I have the tarot cards here again, and this time I'm using the Dream Vision tarot deck. And so I just want to pull a card for us before, I finish here, to give us some inspiration, to bring us a sense of, a sense of clarity, of what will support us in this time, and what is important for us to really understand, but on an emotional level, on a heart-centered level. What is the invitation for us here? So this card just fell out. This is the Sun. So if we look at the Sun is in Gemini. Yeah, that's a mutable energy. That is about flexibility, adaptability. I think that's something really important right now, that we stay adaptable, not too fixed, not too rigid. That's the square. Yeah, Saturn is there wanting to be really rigid and fixed with your own personal perspective and your own personal needs and your own personal ideas. But Jupiter there in square in Cancer is like, yes, but let's also be like water. Let's also feel, and let's also move with the waves, and let's adapt, and let's change our strategy if we have to. This is the Sun. This is really about understanding, what do you want to shine out into the world? With this particular deck, it's like this sphere in the middle, like the center, but it also reminds me of water that is starting to crystallize here with these petals. But it's crystallizing not from the cold, but it's kind of crystallizing from heat. And so it almost feels like the other way around, like water that has been crystallized, but the heat is slowly melting the patterns. It's like ice that is slowly melting. And yeah, that actually reminds me of a slogan from a protester's sign, or it was written on their vest in the United States that were protesting against the ICE deportation of immigrants. And the slogan was something like, "Ice melts under resistance." And I feel so, yeah, I feel that that is really fitting with this card, actually. Ice melts under resistance. And there's also this saying, you've probably all heard it before, like where something about resistance, like don't resist. You know, we are often taught that like we shouldn't resist something. We always need to go with the flow. We need to be in the flow, and resistance is bad and it creates tension and it wastes energy. But the thing is, resistance also gathers energy. Yeah, resistance accumulates energy at one point, and sometimes we need that because that energy needs to accumulate at a point so that it can be bundled, so that it can come together and be used collectively, accumulated. It also looks a bit like a face that is just beginning to form, that is just beginning to have eyes, not yet fully formed features, kind of like an egg that has just been fertilized and it's starting to grow. But it's starting to grow as a human, and at the same time it's starting to grow as a collection of patterns, as a fractal, as a blossom, as petals, yeah, as the natural world. And I think this is also about realizations that we have in the realm of Gemini, where the sun is right now. Gemini understands the interchanges. Gemini understands how one thing influences another thing and is able to grasp the similarities because it's able to understand the details. Gemini is able to understand influence, and Gemini energy is able to therefore influence actively. So I think we really all need to remember, you have influence in the world. You have influence. What you do influences things, and not just one thing. What you do influences the whole world. We tend to forget this under the weight of having to imagine the numbers of how many people are there in the world and how many processes and how many millions and billions and trillions of things. We just like check out with our brain, and we're like, oh, that's so much, I can't imagine that. But can you feel into that? Can you feel it? Can you feel the concept? Yeah, can you understand the concept that what you do has an impact? Yeah, what you buy at the store is a reaction that influences the whole product line of what you just bought and consumed. And that influences everyone who's connected with that product line, everyone who works, who has ideas, who is in distribution, who is in production of that. And it also influences everything that is in connection through that production process. Yeah, anything that goes into the waters and the airs and into the skins of people working with that product. And depending on how healthy or unhealthy it is, it can influence the number of diseases that people get and the number of pollution that environment experiences, just by your choice of buying something. Can you feel that weight for a moment? Because it's also not just a negative weight, it's a positive weight. It means, wow, I can really influence something. Yeah. Can you feel for a moment the weight of what it means that who you vote for influences what other people experience in their lives. It influences how people are treated around the world. It influences how countries communicate with each other. It influences if there's war or not. It influences if someone else is experiencing consequences for abusing their power or not. It influences someone else's life because they may be affected by the choice that this person makes on a collective level as a person in power. So who you vote for affects everyone else, of course also you. But you have an influence in that. What you choose to accept has an influence. If you choose to accept that things around you are happening, you have an influence of those things happening, that they continue to happen, that they perhaps happen more often because there's the experience that no one is bothered by it. Yeah, but you also have influence. You have the ability to influence that situation. And if there's a situation that you are bothered by, then you have the ability, the power to understand what are the influences from that situation and how can I now, with that understanding, contribute to influencing that situation from the perspective from which I would rather have it. Yeah. If I am against genocide, what can I do? What is in my influence? How can I practice using my ability to influence the situation? And some situations, they may not experience enough influence by one individual. The concept of influence is strengthened by number. The concept of influence is strengthened by number. And as influence grows, with a growth in number of those who are influencing, the more people are going in a similar direction, the more that influence will be channeled in one direction. The more people are influencing in very dispersed ways, well, then the influences will be more random and more diverse. But you have an ability to understand how things are connected. And I think that understanding that is really going to be necessary for us moving forwards with these cycles. Because that Saturn in Aries and that Neptune in Aries, they're just gonna go through the whole sign of Aries. It's gonna be very personal. Yeah, we're gonna be very confronted with our personal individual needs and energies. And therefore, in order to maintain harmony and balance and well-being for not just myself, but for everyone in the world, we need to understand, how do I influence? How do I impact? Who and what is impacted by me and my choices? And then we can start to make choices that fit us, but not only us, but that are well for us and also well for a bigger meaning, a bigger cause, a bigger realization of things that are connected by that choice. Sometimes we may not even want things anymore suddenly when we experience the understanding, the realization that something else might be influenced very, very negatively by that desire that we have, that personal desire that we have. And those realizations then also influence our desires. Our desires are not fixed. They are within context. They are shaped. They are strengthened. They are formed, and they can change with the change of information, with the change of understanding. So yeah, I feel like it's important to shine outwards right now, to radiate and really utilize that divine gift that you have been given to express. This is Mars in Leo. in trine with the moon and Chiron, the divine ability to express yourself and do that in a creative way, in an artistic way, in a courageous way, in a brave way. Whichever way you really need to be doing it right now. Yeah. But use it. Use your gift. Use your expression. Your aura influences everyone you are in contact with. Your perception influences everyone who you are in contact with. How you think about other people influences how they feel when they meet you. How you look at the world influences how someone feels when they're standing next to you and they're sensing your energy. The thoughts that you have influence all of the ripple effects in your life. The desires and the willpower and your own gift, your own talents, expressing that influences your impact in the world, and you can widen the impact that you have by understanding how to consciously use that expression. Use it. So I feel this is an invitation. And also to remember that ice melts under resistance, and that we are moving towards another moment of earth-shaking, ground-shaking experiences. So, interesting times, very interesting times. I want to leave it with this to resonate, and I want to say thank you. If you're still watching, thank you for staying until the end. If you are struggling right now in any way, you can always contact me for a personal reading, or also a systemic constellation session, or if you have a bigger process and you would like a more long-term accompaniment, I also do coaching, and we can have a call and talk about what might be your needs and if it fits for us to work together. Yeah, if you want to explore some of my art, my expression, my music, I'll leave all of the links for that below. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share it with your friends and family, your loved ones, and I would be really happy to hear how you are understanding maybe a new way to use your expression, your ability to influence the world. Maybe you have even a story of a time where you just really tested it out and experienced that something did change, or that there was a positive influence for something. And sharing that story, I think, is going to inspire many of us to really be daring enough, to be bold enough to also begin expressing more. So it'd be really beautiful to hear if you've already experienced that, so we can begin to inspire each other for more inspired action and collectively raise the willingness to act, raise the willingness to stand up, raise the willingness to express ourselves. It helps a lot to hear from other people who have already experienced something like that. It helps us a lot to be more courageous, to watch each other and then support each other. So yeah, I'm super happy if you're willing to share. And with that, I say thank you. I will see you in 2 weeks for a new moon. I hope that you're well. I wish you the best, and a lot of strength, a lot of resilience for these times. A lot of love, courage, and compassion. And from my heart to yours, I'll see you soon.